property taxes are a thing and people know that. And so they feel like, oh, these Black families are going to lose their house the minute that somebody passes away. And let me be the first one to jump in and stake my claim. This one will need to be totally remodeled. The tour of the house. I really wish I could say the house was in better condition, but it's just not.
Zara and my mother died, leaving me a house filled with everything she couldn't let go of.
So you inherited a property and you're not sure about what to do next. Well, in this video, I'm going to talk to you about it as somebody that has done it myself, dealt with inheriting property myself, and helping other people as a real estate agent, done this a lot. Maybe what I can tell you in this video could help you and save a lot of time and a lot of heartache. Let's watch these videos and I'm going to give you my opinion on how this should really go. Let's get to it.
Someone died. My name is Zara and my mother died, leaving me a house filled with everything she couldn't let go of. Mom was a beautifully cool and eclectic woman, and this house is full of her things. Some things I'd love to keep, others I can sell, and pieces that deserve to be donated. Each closet I open is a memory, a reflection of who she was.
Every part of an inheritance is emotional. Family, especially if you have family involved. It is one of those situations where everything you see has a memory. And this can pose a very hard way forward. And you got to prepare yourself to it, as this lady is doing right now. I want you to take a good day, few days, week, to just relax. Take a deep breath. Collect yourself. Collect your friends, your family in the situation. Collect yourself. Think about it. Don't do anything spontaneous. And then decide what you're going to do. One, start contacting a core professional group. Somebody that's done this before, because there's going to be a lot of roadblocks. Let's keep going.
This one will need to be totally remodeled. The tour of the house. I really wish I could say the house was in better condition, but it's just not. So here's the kitchen. And then the living room / informal dining room, I guess. And then in here, there's an actual formal dining room. And yes, there's one of the dogs. So this is the biggest issue, is the carpet. And this is from mostly her, but also from my aunt's dog, who passed away recently. And he peed absolutely everywhere. So that's the grossest part.
Once you've collected yourself, now we have to look at the realistic part of this transaction. What is going on? Okay, you've probably inherited a property that is outdated. It's going to need maintenance. It could be at a distance. And especially, I'm going to highlight, if you were at a distance, let's say a day's distance away from the property, 5, 6 hours, 7 hours. If you're across the country, you need to really look at this hard. Looking at this house right now, you're going to walk in, it's going to have that old smell. You're going to have carpet that might make you sneeze. If there's animals involved, it's a whole nother topic. Ask yourself this: did the person die in the property? And this is a real question. It's a hard one. In many situations, people die in the property. How long were they there? Is that smell going to affect the deal? Gets in the air ducts. And I've dealt with these deals where people have died in houses. It can be a very rough time. In some states, you don't have to disclose it. Others, you do. But you know it by the smell. Okay, you cannot forget that smell. If there's animals in the property, the carpet's probably gonna have to come out. Incurred expenses. Are the air ducts, is the air system gonna have to be clean or completely torn out? Added expenses. You really gotta think about these things.
The lighting is awful, but this is the hallway. Literally, the light does nothing. There's a laundry room. So that door is the door to my mom's room. We're not gonna go in there. This is a bathroom, and you'll see how bad. So they removed the flooring because it was so damaged. And then it still has old countertops and everything in it. Most of the tiles are missing. So I have to remodel this whole bathroom. And then this is my aunt's room. She hides something, a little shoe behind this door, so she knows if anyone pushes it open, so I'm not gonna do that.
If you have a situation like this where there's other siblings, this is always a catchy one. It is one that can be very tough. I helped a guy not too long ago, same situation, and my clear advice to him was, your family can be one of the hardest parts of the deal. You have to look at it with no emotion, because if they're willing to hide shoes behind the door to see if you came in the house and you own it, you already have a red flag. Family can do crazy things in deals, especially in inheritance. Money, you put money on the table, you find out what people are really like. The house, Sometimes people don't want to go somewhere else to live, and they will fight tooth and nail family to stay in the property. And then you got to go through a court action. You've got all these things that can happen. Right off the bat, look at the red flags of what is going on. I personally, and I happen to be a real estate agent here on the Gulf Coast of Florida, Alabama, and I'd be happy to help you with one of these situations. And if I can, I'll find somebody that can. And if you're anywhere in the country, I'd be happy to find you an agent that can help you with this situation. You need quality representation because this stuff can get complicated really fast. Have her a registered letter, tell her she's out. I would start renovating the property, or you have to start thinking about how you're going to sell the property. But you've got to get the people out. And I know you don't want to look at your family as people, but I look at it as a tenant, as a renter. This can be a very sore thumb in the process in the future. And they're probably already mad because they didn't inherit the house. It looks like the daughter or the granddaughter inherited the house and not the mom or the sister or her mom or her aunt. That can be a real sore spot.
Closet, my grandparents' office, which is filled with paperwork and stuff. And then my grandparents' bedroom, which makes me the saddest. Oh my God, his clock died. It opens up into that closet area. And then they have a bathroom in here, which also has the flooring ripped out. So this one will need to be totally remodeled. And then their closet, which I've shown before, and everything is just like it's always been. And then it has a covered porch. And that whole side property back there is also part of the property. So it is an HOA, but they have the biggest lot in the entire neighborhood. Fun fact, that used to obviously be grass, and I would play in that as a kid, and my grandma would set up little indoor pools out here.
Before this event even happened, you've got to prepare yourself. You make sure the wills are done. Make sure if you're going to do a trust, you do a trust. Make sure you know who's going to be the manager of the trust and that they actually are cognitive enough to facilitate the transaction. I would also go ahead and designate maybe a real estate agent, an attorney. Know where the wills are, okay? Many times the wills are nowhere to be found. Make sure that somebody has a power of attorney. Make sure that all the permits on the property are closed out. You've got to prepare the property and the estate for this situation. Look, I'm not an attorney. I'm a real estate agent, and I deal with this all the time. I did one the other day just like this. Person died, house looked just like that, and they were now what? Full of stuff. What you have to do is separate your emotions from the deal. And that's why you have to hire somebody to do it for you. Only a fool represents themselves. And I don't mean fool in a bad way. I'm using the metaphor. So what I would do is I would say, am I willing to put money into this property? And I would say, probably not. Okay. Let's say I'm across the country. Mom died. Here's this property. I would come in. I would look at the property and I'd be like, all right, Mr. Agent, you're the best one I know. I need you to do this for me. And I would empower them. I would say, hey, go ahead, get the property ready to go. First thing I would do is I would tell my client, hey, you need to have a dumpster dropped. Because here's what you do. Call the agent and you say, Jack, what do I do? And I'd say, all right, the first thing we got to do, we need to empty the property. We need to get a dumpster, put it out front, either you or have a trash company come in, pick the things you want and get rid of the rest. And I say this because many times a family member believes that the next person wants to inherit all their stuff. They spend their entire life and they have all this stuff. And it winds up being a burden on the next generation. The things you collected for 50 years are going to be sold for pennies on the dollar at an estate auction, trade show, or thrown away. These situations made me a minimalist, okay? I saw what happened when my father died and I had 40 acres of this stuff. And I was like, what am I gonna do with all this stuff? Most of it, there was no value of it whatsoever. I couldn't get anybody to help me get it out of there. I couldn't even get a junk man to come get it because there was nothing to it. It was just old stuff. And I realized real quickly that stuff can be a burden for the next generation. Go in the house, pick the best things you possibly would want out of the house. Get them out. Put a trash dumpster there and start offloading it. If the church wants to come get it, cool. But you got to remember, time is money. The holding costs of the property are going to start mounting up every day. Insurance, taxes, maintenance, etc. So it's a race against the clock. Get everything out of the property, clean it up, and say, hey, Mr. Real Estate Agent, I need you to move this property. You got to remember, you got to get it ready to go on the market. You've got to find buyers, and many times some of these properties are in bad shape. Roofs are bad, maintenance is bad, leaking faucets, electrical panels that haven't been updated. Some of them have problems that kind of keep them from going on the MLS. So you really got to wonder, what am I going to do with this property? Am I going to sell it to a cash buyer? Am I going to sell it as a buy and hold, fix and flip? Is it going to go on the market for somebody to buy as a first-time home buyer? It might not be in that type of shape. It has to be able to pass a 4-point. It's got to be able to pass electrical. It's got to pass its plumbing. It's got to pass its roof. It's got to pass its HVAC. It's got to be able to be mortgageable. And if it's not, you're going to have to sell it for cash to another buyer or a conventional buy, fix, and flip guy that can be able to do this type of property. So you got to weigh the property on what you're trying to do. Remember, vacant properties are like Murphy's Law. If it sits there long enough, something will happen to it. A pipe will bust, a homeless guy will live in it, the roof will leak, a storm in the middle of the night will blow the carport off, the garage door will get busted, the grass grows. You name it, it will happen if it sits there long enough. So remember, time is of the essence. You don't want the property just to sit there for many, many, many months. Before you know it, you got a code enforcement violation. So just remember, Murphy's Law happens to properties that sit.
Point that doesn't happen. The 3 most important things you need to know when you inherit a house. Hey, I'm Catherine. I'm a certified financial planner and wealth manager for Millennial and Gen Z inheritors. The first thing you need to know when you inherit a house is how you inherited the house. Did it come through a will? You already own the deed? You inherit through a revocable trust? You inherit through an irrevocable trust? The reason you're going to want to know this is because it could have tax consequences if and when you sell the house.
You need to know how this works. Do some research on it before it happens. Don't get blindsided. Go sit down with an attorney prior to this. The property needs to either go through probate or you have it all set up, because it's just going to hold up the deal, and probate can take a very long time to remedy in most states. And most people are not going to want to get into a deal with a property that hasn't been probated. It's a long ordeal, especially if there's multiple siblings, multiple people in the deal.
The second thing you need to know is if you're gonna sell the house. If you plan to sell a house you inherited immediately, you want to make sure that you got what's called a step up in basis. The step up in basis is a tax benefit that happens when most people die. I have a house, I purchased it for $100,000. I die and I give it to you. On the date that I give it to you, it's worth $500,000. You turn around and sell it. Your cost basis is $500,000, the basis on the date of my death, and not the $100,000 I originally purchased it for. You then don't owe capital gains tax when you sell it. But this goes back to the first point, that doesn't happen for all inherited assets, which is why you need to know how you inherited the house.
Please go see a CPA, an EA, an attorney at this process, because you might be different. And don't go on the IRS website and start Googling around and then do your own taxes. When you inherit money, a big estate, they'll say it's $1 million, say it's $500,000, say it's $200,000, and you are going to take a capital gain, or you're going to sell and you're going to move money. Hire a professional. Hire a professional at both ends. Hire a CPA. Go and sit down. Pay the $200 an hour or $250 an hour to facilitate this. Okay, if you're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars, $300 an hour for 3 or 4 hours to do it correctly and not incur a major tax bill, big deal. Okay, I did this the other day with my wife's inheritance. I paid for the advice. There's professionals out there who do this all the time. That's why you use them. One rounding error and you lost a lot of money.
The third thing you need to know when you inherit a house is that not everything in the house is yours. If someone left you a specific bequest or gift in their will of the house, it doesn't mean that they've also given you all of the personal property or valuable property within the house. If there are other people that have been given bequests in the will, you want to be sure that you're not taking things out of the house that they might have a right to and that they're going to be mad and try and sue you about about because you took them all and they were entitled to some of that property. A house is probably one of the most common types of inheritances people get. Usually it's pretty simple and straightforward, but there are 3 important things to remember to make sure that when you inherit a house, you don't make mistakes that are going to cost you.
If you are in a situation where there is a will, I highly suggest putting it on record at the clerk of the court so everybody can see it. It doesn't get lost. Because I've seen, and this happened in my family, my grandmother's will disappeared. And we only had my grandfather's will. And, you know, with lineage, it just goes from her to him. And then you have one will that somebody else benefits from and the other one doesn't. If you're writing a will for yourself, go get it registered at the clerk of the court where everybody knows that that will is there and what it says. Have it recorded. Spend the $8 a sheet or whatever it is to make sure all the kids know. It's public record. Make sure they all know what attorney did it. We don't want to squabble over stuff in a house. Look, some of the biggest amount of money is lost with kids squabbling over their inheritance. All they're doing is fighting each other because the money comes out of the estate when you're fighting it. So it's never really worth it. Let everybody say their piece, get their thing, sell the house, keep the house, but you've got to figure out the way forward, and squabbling is not it.
Inherited a house from your parents. Does your husband or wife own half of it? No, but there is one thing. Your spouse gets nothing. However, if you move into your parents' house and it's 40, 50 years old and you want to make changes and you spend bundle making changes to the house, that might add value to the house. And then you'll have almost 100%, but the value that was added, if you added a pool, if you added a backyard with a patio, those add value to the house, and whatever the added value is, half of that is going to be marital, but the house will still be yours. If you make changes, painting the house doesn't matter. Painting the inside, painting the outside, doesn't matter. You inherited a house from your parents.
She's always great. Go look at her TikTok channel. This is the kind of stuff that you try to purchase. You try to purchase the most guidance and knowledge and a deal as you possibly can. And if you're married and you've got this question, go talk to an attorney. Go pay the $200, $300, $400 an hour to answer the question when there's hundreds of thousands of dollars involved. And I see divorce problems all the time. Divorces, real estate is scary for a real estate agent, and you got to know how to navigate this stuff at all times. And paperwork, document, receipts.
When I inherited my home from my grandfather, literally the day after he passed away, there was letters in the mail asking me to buy my house. So I live in Seattle, Washington. It's absolutely gorgeous. And if you don't think that gentrification is real, let me tell you something. Gentrification is not just about people coming into your community and paying prices that drive the price up. It's also about feeling comfortable in your community when you are ever so blessed to come back to it or to stay in it. I cannot tell you how many predatory letters I got to buy my home below market value. See, the thing is, they don't think that as Black people know anything or what our property is worth and what the value is. They also think, oh, Black people need money, so let me lowball them and get them out their house.
What she's referring to here is what they call wholesalers. And when somebody dies, wholesalers are what they're trying to do is they're trying to give you a contract saying, I will purchase your property. Then they're going to take the equitable value of that contract and they're going to sell it to a cash buyer. They're going to tell you that they're going to buy it cash. They're not. This is called wholesaling 101. They're going to sell the assignment, the equitable value of the contract to another buyer, and they're going to get the split, okay? So let's say they get under contract for 100, they sell it to them for 110, they keep the 10. This guy gets the house, they close at the table, okay? So what she's saying, she's referring to wholesale. Now, she's making a you-know-what case. Most of these wholesale have a specific neighborhood and or block or part of town. A lot of it is automated and it goes off the obituaries, it goes off divorce court, and whatever pops up on those databases, it just automatically sends a letter. And then the wholesaler is trying to get the split. Many of these guys are doing it at a distance. They're not even looking at the inside of the property. They're seeing, okay, tax rolls, property. It's probably worth this. I think this got to pay that much for the contract, and they're firing off letters. Do they pick certain areas? Yes, because they know that there is a want for that area. Downtown Atlanta, for instance, a lot of wholesalers really changed that area. Why? Because they knew a stadium was going to be coming in there. They knew that place was going to go up. They knew the taxes were getting really high on the property because politicians were trying to push people out, and the wholesalers focused on it, trying to get those properties that you couldn't list for sale in the MLS, but they still needed to be moved. So what they did is they went in those areas and they flipped the contract. Not all of it is the way she's presenting it, but what I want to tell you is wholesalers exist. And the moment you have somebody, a loved one die, you're going to have letters come in the mail. You're going to have people knocking on the door. You're going to have people trying to take advantage of your situation. Understand they are wholesalers. Understand what that is. Understand that they're not going to give you cash for the property. Understand they're going to sell the contract to another person. Now, there might be a handful of flippers that will buy it outright, and they are going to buy it. For the most part, what she's referring to are wholesale. It really is just numbers. It's a numbers game. It has nothing to do with the racial standing of that person. Just my opinion. Comment down below what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? Just from my experience.
In an area called the CD of Seattle, also known as the Central District, and the property values over here are $1 million and up. Property taxes are a thing, and people know that, and so they feel like, oh, these Black families are going to lose their house the minute that somebody passes away, and let me be the first one to jump in and stake my claim. Not realizing that some of us know what's going on and we are not telling. So you get letters saying you're behind on your property taxes when you're not. You get letters saying that you're behind on your mortgage, don't got one. And so there's all these tactics that they use to try to scare you to feel like you are not able to stay in your land. My grandpa bought this house in 1953 and we've been there ever since, and we plan to stay here. And there's things that went on during this renovation that I can't even speak about because literally there's still court stuff happening. But if you guys think that it is not real that people come after your property when you got something, you got another thing coming. This is real, and it literally does happen.
It's a bad situation to be in no matter what. One of the hardest things to be is a distant landlord. And I say this to everybody. Trying to govern a property from over an hour away gets very tiresome very quickly. Before you know it, you're counting the road time, you're counting the gas, you're counting the time over there, and it starts to add up. The stress just becomes on stress. And if you're trying to manage it yourself, like with a tenant, the tenant knows you're a long ways away and they get away with a lot of things. You have to constantly be inspecting your properties where things happen. You're constantly doing drive-bys at least once a month. If you've got a tenant, you're having quarterly inspections, because if you don't, let me tell you, they will take advantage of that. Before you know it, they'll be scrapping in the backyard. You got to manage properties carefully. If I could say anything, what I would do is I would, first of all, find out what the property's worth, call a real estate agent, sign a brokerage agreement with them, make them be your representation. Because why? With them comes their book and their network. They know what lawyers to use, title companies to use. They know how to make it a smooth transaction. Heck, if you don't feel comfortable, interview a few of them, 2, 3, and then say, hey, what would it cost for you to do this transaction? Some of these transactions can be lengthy. I had one that took 6 months because it was from top to bottom with model airplanes. And we had to get an auctioneer to come in, auction them off, then clean out the house, then get it ready for the market. And this is why I counseled against all the stuff. Because of the holding costs of the property, it was cheaper to throw the hundreds of thousands of dollars of model airplanes into the garbage can than for the property to just sit there while they sold all these things one at a time. Not to mention pay the auctioneer. So sometimes you get a professional, you use their network, you get them to bring in an attorney that can handle this transaction, you fend off the wholesalers, you try to get as much out of it as you possibly can, you get everybody in the deal to agree, all the siblings, and say, hey, Jack, I need you to go sell this property, get it done, let's go. How much would it cost me? Okay, let's roll. And it becomes a smooth transaction that stays out of court. And last but not least, let's talk about a title company. You need a lawyer on your side. You need a title company. Don't try to transfer these properties over the counter with a quitclaim deed. Every state is going to be different. In all these categories we talked about, everything is going to be different per state. Make sure you're getting an attorney in that state. Make sure you're getting a real estate agent in that state that's licensed in that state, because there are nuances that you're not going to see. You need to make sure title insurance is good to go. You need to make sure that the property has clear title. You need to make sure that all the siblings have done everything in the correct order, and you need to make sure that you have a good warranty deed to go with. I mean, you've got to know the situation, and don't be cheap. You pay for attorneys in these situations. You pay for real estate agents in certain situations. You don't want it to wind up in court or in some dispute, and it takes a lot longer to just get this deal done. And that's all I got, everybody. I wanted to do this video to help somebody out there with this emotional situation. It can be very stressful. And I got a call the other day. Hey, Jack, can you go look at this property? Tell me the real lowdown on this property. I don't want to hear it sugar-coated. Tell me what's going on. And I went out there and I did a complete breakdown of it. And I was like, this is what you're going to get out of it. This is how much it's going to cost you. This is how long it's going to take. And it took a lot of pressure off of him because he didn't know. And it's scary to go hire a real estate agent. It's scary to do an attorney. And it can be expensive. And don't shortcut these transactions because there's so many landmines in the deal. I hope this helps. My email is down below. I have to be a real estate agent on the Gulf Coast of Florida, Alabama. Happy to help you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and on to the next video. I don't know what it's going to be about. Maybe comment down below what I should do it on next, because this is a very important topic. See you guys later.